Let's try and have an amazing listen of another kind, shall we? Since turning 50 a couple of years ago. He's never 50, is he, Lynn?
He doesn't look 50 to me.
Incredible. Our guest today has experienced a semi-demi epiphany. Oh, my goodness. Not content with being part of Britain's brightest band, selling millions of albums to an adoring fan base, he's now having a crack at stand-up comedy, and it's going rather well. It's proving so popular that come April, he's going back on the road to reprise his new role. Please welcome frontman for Madness, bona fide national treasure, Suggs. Good morning, Suggs!
Good morning, Christopher.
How are you, my friend?
Absolutely terrific.
What do you have to you right inside? Are you a coffee or a tea man?
I'm a coffee man this morning.
Coffee
Yes.
man, So we shall... What?
You're cold then?
No, well, I'm not actually cold.
For the average viewer.
Yeah, sorry, I've got my coat on still. Do you know what?
A scarf and a hoodie kind of sweatshirt.
Can I explain what's going on here?
Yes.
Now you've asked the question. Okay, here we go. I've forgotten to take it off.
So daft. He's so daft.
Because the show's been so busy. I only just realised
Well, I suppose it means you can get off quick when it ends.
No, I'll take it off now. Okay.
Well, hello.
Here we go.
Well, steady.
I've got my Royal Navy Lifeboat Institution sweatshirt on, which I should show to the world, shouldn't I? See, if I don't get
the Royal National Lifeboat Institute.
Yeah, if I don't get in a onesie tonight on the onesie show, I'm going to wear this if that's all right with everyone.
Okay.
Right, Suggs, we're going to talk to you a lot in the next hour, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Do you remember the first time we met?
But you're not talking about Power Station, are you? The ill-fated British Satellite Broadcasting Organisation.
Well, that was in 1990.
Oh, are we talking about Piccadilly Radio then? Are we going back to?
We could go back to Piccadilly Radio, but
where are we going back to? Chris?
When I was 19 years old, Lynn.
That was a long time ago.
I know, Lynn, I know. When I was 19 years old, I was a warm-up disc jockey. So I was the guy who got the crowd going for the people who did the big stuff, and it was on a TV show. And after the TV show, this man here took me out for a night out, and I was 19 years old, and he took me for a night out. I don't know why. It was very generous of him. He didn't know me from Adam. He said, "Do you want to come out with us, son?" And he took me out for a night out in Manchester. And I'm going to try and pique his imagination now and see if he remembers where we went and who with. And here's a clue. All right. You up for this, Suggs?
Wasn't Noddy older, was it?
Ah,
you sure? No.
You ruined any game. All right, Suggs, you're back in the hot seat now. So that's the clue.
So we weren't out with Boy George, were we? We weren't out with Boy George.
We were nearly out with Boy George.
We were nearly out with Boy George.
Do you remember what TV show specifically you may have done and had a great time doing in 1985 in Manchester?
Wasn't his was? No.
No, because that was in Birmingham.
Right, okay, close. I'm getting closer though, aren't I? Was it Saturday? It was Swap Shop.
No, it wasn't. That was in London.
It was a Saturday show.
No, it wasn't a Saturday show. It was on Friday.
Friday, right.
It was Friday nights, BBC Two, and it's called The Oxford Road Show.
Ah.
And it was called...
yeah.
They actually, in 1985, they changed the title to ORS 85 because it was a bit snappier. And every week they invited a guest host. And you guest hosted that show, and I was your warm-up DJ.
Ah.
And after the show, he said, "You've been working hard all night, you come out with us." And I went out with Suggs, and I was 19 years old. I'd never met anybody famous before. He took me out for a night out with John Moss from Culture Club.
Come on.
Heavens.
And we went to the Hacienda in Manchester, and I was like, "Oh my God, is this how life can be?"
You had no idea, did you?
And he paid for all my drinks. I didn't sleep for weeks afterwards thinking about it. And that is why the 90s for me turned out like it did.
Well, there we are. So I hope the nation is grateful that I discovered what is now the finest disc jockey on the airwaves.
Don't answer that, everyone. Don't answer that. Right, we'll talk to Suggs after the travel of the headlines.
Don't worry, darling, I love you when you grow old.
I mean, seriously, not just because you're sitting here now, because, I've always been honest with you, or at least tried to be that. You really are back to your best with this stuff, aren't you?
I hope so, Chris. We've been going a long time and we've had our ups and downs for sure, but we were all very pleased with this new recording, and as our Radio 2 would seem, which is, a tremendous...
Rather beneficial.
A bonus.
So how come? What's happened?
Well, I tell you what, for a long time we were I make the analogy that we might have been in a sort of black hole of 80s nostalgia, which was, very successful and money making for a bit. And then we made an album called The Liberty of Norton Folgate, which seemed to me like a bit like Star Trek. You get to warp factor 6, and we kind of got out of that black hole. And this record, I think, is a record by a band who are making records because they want to and they're enjoying it, and it's fresh.
Is it a record of acceptance? Is it one of those things where you thought, hang on a minute, let's accept what we are. We're pretty good here. We don't need to deny this. Let's get back. Let's dive back in and enjoy it.
Exactly right. You know, because for years we were doing these comeback things. We were doing those mad stock concerts, you know, in North London, and every time, you know, we did about 5 last concerts, and we said, well, could we just stop saying that? Can we just get on with it now? And accept exactly that what we like doing is making music and playing together, and that I think is exactly what that record is. Yeah.
So get us excited about the year then. What's the plan?
Well, the plan is, the last year was just a bit too extraordinary. Obviously, with the playing on the roof of the Queen's house and the Olympics and all that, which all came completely out of the blue, and the record itself being so well received. But this year, I'm going to do a one-man show, which is basically, I was trying to think of all sorts of clever titles for it. I was going to call it a Mad Life Crisis and all that. But it's called My Life Story.
Well, I like Mad Life Crisis, if you don't mind me saying.
I know.
I do like that one. What have you called it instead?
Well, I'll get you one T-shirt made with that on it.
What's it called?
It My Life Story.
Oh, no,
in words and music.
Mad Life Crisis. See, once again, you're not accepting what you are.
There we are. You see,
is it too late to change the posters?
There's a bullet in the barrel, and of course I've got an empty cartridge. Yeah, but anyway, there's a website called Live Suggs. Go and check it out. Make up your own title for it. Whatever you
Mad
like.
Life Crisis is what it's got to be. Now, you had a dabble at this last year, more than a dabble actually, and when you came to talk to us about it, you know, it was one of those ideas I thought, well, that's it. Words kept leaping out at me like quirky. Okay, that's interesting. But I didn't think it was going to be as successful as it was. Again, I'm being honest with you, but it was you gangbusters, weren't you?
It really was. I mean, I worked with a friend of mine, and obviously it's funny, and there's a lot of sort of jocular strolling through the ridiculousness of my life in show business. But it started. I was 50 years old. It was a little while ago now. I still like to think I am. And I was lying in the bath on the morning of my 50th birthday because I'd had the party the night before. And there was a terrible crash, and my cat fell off a shelf and died right in front of me. And
Honestly?
I just thought, absolutely, totally truthfully. And it was this set of weird circumstance. My children, who are now grown up, I call them children, they're 28 and 30, had left home. I was 50 years old, and my cat just died. And it gave me a moment to reflect on where and how I got to where I am now. And that was the notion for starting to write this show. But yeah, I wanted it to be, you know, genuinely as truthful as it could. So it's not just funny, it's sad, and it's got music in it, and I don't know what to call it really, apart from amazing.
And is that what it's called?
It should be.
Another T-shirt.
Amazing.
My goodness me. Print your own T-shirts at Suggs' tour. So it's like, it could be a bit like a live Desert Island Discs as well.
There is definitely an element of that, yeah. I mean, the songs I play, for instance, Baggy Trousers, which is a song that I wrote. I mean, I haven't written all the Madness songs by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously explains my time at school, so it's useful in the show. So I stop and I kind of take it line by line. You know, naughty boys in nasty school. Yeah, what a lot of naughty boys. To explain that particular period of my life. And all the songs in it are, you know, to help the narrative, they call it, narrative along. And so it's not something you can come and sing along to. It's a show to listen to and hopefully reflect on.
And you said that people came along expecting one thing last year, and in the first 5 minutes realised it was something else, but then didn't mind at all.
Well, no, I mean, you know, it's amazing. I mean, it's very different to playing music because, you know, I've got to say that I know pretty much what the reaction will be if Madness play a concert in any situation. But with the theatre, you know, you can be in Richmond and suddenly you see a lot of sort of glinting heads and glinting glasses and goatee beards and not very much reaction. Then you go to Newcastle and the doors are swinging open like it's a pub and people are coming in and out with trays of pints and shouting, "We love you, Suggsy!" and not really listening very much. But in the end, yeah, I mean, that's the point that you know, if I wanted to do something musical, then I would do it within the confines of the band because I've got the most amazing, you know, group of friends and musicians to be able to do that. So very specifically, I wanted to do something that was different to Madness.
All right, and is the tour bigger than last year? Now you've done it and you know it works. What goes on?
Yeah. I mean, I tried it out here and there, like a pub in North London, and then I ended up at the Edinburgh Festival, where it was very well received, and that's when I sort of thought, yeah. So I'm doing a 2-month tour, exactly. I'm doing 2 months all round the planet that we call Great Britain, and the world tour of Great Britain. And yeah, there's a website called Live Suggs.
You said that already. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry, we'll get there.
A Mad Life Crisis. It's
amazing.
It's called Amazing. Okay. My life in show.
Right, what we're going to talk to you about next, we're talking about touring on your own as compared to touring with a band. That's coming next from Suggs on Radio 2. Specials and Gangsters chosen by Suggs. Tell us why you chose that, Suggs.
Don't call me Scuff, yes.
Come on.
I'll tell you why I chose that, Chris, because did I mention my one-man show? Amazing.
Yes, you did.
No, well, funny enough, the Specials, obviously had the hugest impact on madness. I met Jerry Dammers. He came to the Hope and Anchor pub in 1978 with his band, which held 40 people. And in fact, Terrible Teeth Jerry still does, actually. The keyboard player, the legendary.
Yes.
And in those days, the best chance you had of finding somewhere decent to kip after a gig was pulling a bird. And with Jerry's teeth, he ended up kipping on my mum's sofa. And that night, he told me, I'm going to start my own record label, Suggs, and it's going to be called Two Tone. I said, isn't that a smidge optimistic, Jerry, seeing as you just played to 40 people in a pub basement? He said, no, I'm serious, it's going to be the new English Motown. And 6 weeks later, he rang me and said, I've done it, and that's how we made our first record, The Prince, in 1979. And then ended up going on the Two Tone tour, which was, I was 18. And suddenly there was Selector, The Specials, The Beat, and later Dexy's Midnight Runners, all on the same tour on this funny old school bus, going around Great Britain, under this kind of whirlwind of a new phenomena that they were calling two-tone, and really the most remarkable period of my life. There's always that bit, isn't there, that you can't better, or, when life's new and fresh and exciting, and that certainly was.
What about that bus then? All those bands on the bus. I was going to talk about you going on tour on your own as opposed to being just with Madness, but with Madness and all the other bands. I hear stories of your tours, and I hear them from people who used to write with the Enemy and come on those tours with you, and they say, forget Motley Crue. Seriously, forget everybody you've ever heard of. The Madness tours, they were the ones. Obviously you can't tell us most of what happened, but tell us about the comparison about being on your own and being with a band and being with all those other people. How it couldn't be more different, could it?
What, those cuddly, lovely rogues, Madness? Well, I don't know what you're saying, Mr. Evans. No, it's very different indeed. Yeah, of course. The great joy of Madness is that they're my friends. I've known some of them since I was at school, and when you think that we've travelled around the world a few times and done what we have, that we are still friends, really, to me, is the greatest achievement of all the things that we've done. So it's very different being on my own. Yeah, it's very different indeed, and it gets very lonely. I genuinely mean that. Yeah, the promoter I'm working with mostly works with stand-up comedians, and he says, I said, is it a general rule that they're all depressive bores? And he said, they just become that way. You're driving around on your own from town to town, you see those tours that they do, and it month after month, and eventually it dries up every bit of humour you have left in you.
And that's your job. Oh.
But this for me is a challenge. It's something different, and whether I'll survive. I actually don't know genuinely whether I'll survive the whole 2 months.
Well, let's talk about Richmond again, because I think you should redress the Richmond comments that you made earlier on, because you said the Richmond theatre crowd came along and they were very quiet, and I wasn't quite sure they enjoyed it. But actually they did. They just weren't letting you know, because that's how they are until the end, because they were being respectful.
Very true, Chris, and that's something I've had to learn. Yeah, so you got one end of the spectrum, which is Newcastle, where they're shouting and cheering and throwing beer in the air.
And
they're having a good time, even if they're not listening. But
and it's the opposite of Richmond, isn't it?
The opposite of Richmond, where you just see a lot of kind of deeply thinking people. And at the end, they all stand up and applaud, and you suddenly realise, actually, they have enjoyed themselves. But, we were talking about that during the break, weren't we? Well, we can call it a break. The theatre's very different to rock and roll, for sure, of course it is. And that's what kind of nice, is that every night is different, and you have to make it so. And if they're not going mad and screaming, then you have to just concentrate on keeping the story interesting and fresh in your own mind.
Because they are listening.
They are listening.
And of course, it's a game of two halves, the theatre. There is the dreaded interval, which can be good and can be bad. If you're on a roll in the first half, you're going, can we just not have the interval today? This is going really well.
Exactly. But have you not been to the theatre when your mates have bought the tickets and you come out at the interval and you just think this is just the greatest reason to go home?
I have left.
And you're waiting for who says it first? You don't want to be rude because they bought the ticket, so you're waiting for them to go. What did you make of it? Wasn't all that? That's
go
what
for
I'm
a
saying.
meal.
That's what I'm saying. Wasn't all that. Let's go. But you're right, it works as a double-edged sword, the interval.
So what do you do in the interval then? I couldn't do that. I couldn't handle that.
Have a beer, basically, because I can't drink before the show. It's the one element of life that involves me not drinking. It's because you've got to remember all them words. So I'll have a bottle of beer and sort of pace something down. And then think about how the start of the next act begins, basically.
It's just hearing about it again. When I talk to stand-up comedians on this programme, it just sends shivers down my spine. I mean, I'm really respect the fact you do it, and I know it's gone really well, and it's going to go really well again when you get back on the road. But I wouldn't do it for all the tea in China. It scares the life out of me just hearing about it.
It is very, very hard. I mean, you know, it's the old cliche. You know, you can tell a few jokes in the pub, but that's very different to being a stand-up. You know, you get there. I mean, I did it once. I tried it. In the Mean Fiddler in Harlesden. I thought, yeah, I could do that. I'd get up there. After 10 seconds, you're just dried up and run out of steam. So, I mean, I spent, months writing it and learning it. And in order to be able to ad-lib, you have to learn it, basically. I mean, it's just a process. And certainly, I could actually feel a certain bit of my mind throbbing that I hadn't used since primary school when I was doing my times table.
He said, I thought I was done here. I'm in retirement, thanks very much.
Exactly.
All right,
Excuse me.
Let's go back to where it all started.
Buster, he sold the heat
Great.
with a...
The Suggs' first single, Not a Bad Place to Start, the Prince 1979. Such a complicated song for your first song. How come it's that complicated when you'd never done this before for a living?
I suppose it was naivety. We didn't really know what we were doing, and we didn't really have anyone around us who knew what they were doing. But, I was talking about earlier, Jerry Dammers said, I'm going to start a record label, and would you like to make a record? And we'd sort of barely got out of the dentist surgery that we were rehearsing in at the time. And that was the first thing we put onto tape, and that's the way it was.
And you just said, listening back to it, at full blast, by the way, in the studio. Do you like these speakers in here?
They're great, aren't they? Yeah.
You said it's much slower than I remember.
It's strange, because, everything seems like a sort of frenetic, frantic race. That period of your life, everything seems to go so fast. And, it just sounded slower than I remember recording it.
But still great.
Often, getting the groove right, I think. Is that what they call it now, the groove?
Oh, I've no idea.
Something
I don't know.
Something like that. Anyway, the groove was good, yeah, but slower than I remember.
And you said it sounds like it's a long time ago. What do you mean by that?
Well, my voice, it sort of sounds like I'm on helium, doesn't it? It does.
Maybe you were.
I probably was. And the rest. No, anyway. Now, my kids say when they see old videos, they go, I don't know if they're being sort of euphemistic or nice. They go, Dad, you were so small. You were so little. I think what they mean is thin and young.
No, they're right.
Yeah? Was I little?
Because I've seen that with other people and myself. Yeah. What happens when you think you're a man, whether it's 18 or 25, you are different. You look different. Yeah. Now, of course, there's a weight thing going on, but also there's a genuine volume thing going on. And you become bigger as you get older. Over 30, you just get bigger shouldered. Nobody buying this?
No, I'm dreading it. I think it's called fat.
No, you do.
It's a wild idea.
You absolutely do.
I'm with Chris.
Thank you, Suggs.
Quite naturally, instinctively said, Dad, you're so little. They didn't say thin, they didn't say young, they said little.
Yeah, they said they said thin to your to their mum, and mum said, just say little to Dad, just say little. So listen, you're going on this one tour, which is fantastic. However, what if this record goes gangbusters, this new record, which I think it will because it's brilliant, and suddenly you're in demand? You've got to play some gigs this year as Madness. Are you booked anywhere yet? Are you available? Are you free for hire?
Absolutely, Chris. Any time you like. No, we are. We're doing some race courses. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. They have race meetings on a Friday night at all the great racetracks. And then when you've lost all your money and your missus has gone home in the car, you can have the double whammy of having to watch an hour and a half of Madness.
Who are a little bit bigger nowadays.
A little bit bigger. We've made the stages bigger. We've had to raise the lighting rig by 2 feet.
That's good.
And we made the speakers and the guitars bigger so that we look in proportion to what we did.
Now, did you see the Brits on Wednesday?
I didn't, Chris. I was away. I had the great misfortune of being away, or did I?
Have you ever won the Lifetime Achievement Award, or is this one of the great misnomers of the music business?
It is one of the great misnomers. Do you know what? We had a petition going a few years ago. We got 4 people on it to ask why we haven't got the Are You Still Alive award, and we never will now.
But I think
I don't know
you
why,
should.
Chris. No, exactly.
I think you should. I'm not just
political with a big P.
I don't know. I've no idea.
Do you know what they can do with it, Bill? Do you know what they can do with it? I'll tell you in a minute.
Seriously, I mean,
no, we haven't. No,
you'd pitch up if requested, wouldn't you?
I saw the Pet Shop Boys go flying past that way. Blur went that. I'm still at the bus stop waiting.
I don't get that at all.
In a cloud of exhaust fumes.
All right, Caroline Barker's to your right hand side, Lynn's to your left. There you are, stuck in the middle with them. And Caroline, today's top 10 news, please.
Well, it can only be Mr. Sir Suggs. getting there one
Look
day.
at that thorn between
You're-
two roses.
No, I think it's the other way around, love. Really?
You wouldn't mind.
Would you say?
Right,
Anyway, moving on.
On the text, 88291. Let's just ignore that little menage a trois that's going on over the desk from me. Suggs, please, your desperate claims to the fame of Suggs, and he will declare them true or false, hopefully.
Okay.
On the text, 88291, here's Caroline with what she does for a living. Right, Suggs with us. Loving Suggs and the music so much that I've been parked up for 15 minutes in the car, waiting to go shopping but can't get out, says Julie in Bury St Edmunds. Bless you, Julie. Chris, best show ever. Pink-haired trucker says that. Please, 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 can you have Suggs on for hours? Tell him I love him. Have done for over 30 years. From Steve. No, from Lorraine. Trent. Saw Suggs show last time out. Absolutely brilliant, funny. Tear-jerking. There are tears.
There are tears, yeah, pain mainly.
Okay, that's from Matt in Peterborough. How do you decide where to put the tears and how far away from the last laughter and the next laughter?
Oh dear, you see, that's where you got to where you are today, Chris. Hey, questions like that this time in the morning.
Do you have to move the tears? You look at the script and you go, no, the tears are too
Exactly.
close.
It's like, let's have a titter here. Hang on, I thought you said... Well, I'll tell you what, because I co-wrote it with someone else, and originally the promoter who was interested in doing it with me thought it just would be, you know, laugh-tastic jokes all the way through. And, you know, without depressing people at this time in the morning, especially the woman who's stuck in her car in the car park. You know, I never knew my dad, you know, and I'm sure a lot of people have had similar fate, you know, out there. But and part of the story was trying to find out what happened to my dad, which was a bit of a kind of sad story in itself. But it felt like without that, then the story didn't really mean anything. Do you know what I mean? So to try and get a balance between tears and laughter. Yeah, exactly.
No, you have to, if there's a seed of truth, you have to untap it, otherwise the rest of it tells lies, doesn't it?
Exactly right.
I
Exactly
think
right.
so.
And, you know, and just laughing for the sake of laughing actually does get a bit kind of unpleasant after a while. As anyone who hangs around with me long enough will tell you.
And also, the laughs are bigger if there's been a bit of serious stuff beforehand, if the context is there.
I got this director I didn't like originally, Owen, who helped me direct.
Morning,
the show.
Owen.
Morning, Owen. He wouldn't be up with this time.
He
of the
likes
day.
you now.
But no, he told me things of that nature. You know, you don't like to think that cynically, but actually, you know, creating any bit of art, if you want to call it such, does involve certain techniques, and one of them is, yeah, you have a big laugh, then you have a really sad moment,
Tricks and
you
tools. All right. Okay, more from Suggs in a moment or two.
I'm really worried about that girl in the car park.
Don't worry,
outside the
I think she'll be
shopping-
fine.
No, do you reckon?
The news is next. It's up to her that she wants to stay for that or not. Now, after the news, normally we have the Gobsmackers, which is 2 songs back to back that our guest star of the day on Fridays choose. But you know what? I think I would literally get lynched if we don't play a Madness Medley after the news. So, Suggs, I don't care what your Gobsmackers are. I'm going to play some Madness. Is that all right?
That poor woman in the car.
Oh, yeah! Blimey O'Reilly, Suggs, there you go. 26 top 10s, 1 number 1, spookily only 1 number 1. Explain to the children why.
No idea, but the children of my youth obviously didn't like Madness as much as they did. No, I mean, the competition was fierce in them days. I mean, you know, people were selling hundreds of thousands of singles a day. Singles, 45s, little bits of round plastic. But, you know, we were up against people like ABBA and Blondie and the Pretenders and Ultravox and Adam and the Ants. You know, every week it seemed there was another phenomena flying up the charts. So yeah, of all those top 10s, we only had 1 number 1, which was House of Fun. And yeah,
We were trying to go
very, very annoyed about it.
It explains a lot. We were trying to go through the various singles and the times those singles were in the top 10 and find out which song was the worst song that kept you off the number 1 slot. How you doing, Mr. Tickle in there? UB40, Red Wine.
Well,
Beat Wings of a Dove. Cover version. Karaoke song. Don't!
I must say, you know, I thought there would be worse than that, but actually, you know, as I say, the competition was fierce.
That's actually, I think I agree with Suggs. That's actually sort of not fair.
Not terrible, is it? It's not
No.
dreadful. If it had been, you know,
I don't mind a bit of
children singing
UB40
Christian
there.
rhyme or whatever, one of them, you know.
Mr. Suggs, sorry, Mr.
Blobby.
Tickle, can you do better, please? Have another go there.
But you
All
see,
right.
probably there just weren't any bad songs around in them days. You know, it was a
Oh, there were
different
a
time.
couple. There were definitely Saddle Up and Ride My Pony.
What's the matter, you? Hey!
Right, so now we're on the cusp of breaking this year's total for 500 words for the short story competition. We only have, 9, 7, 12, 7, 11, 10 hours left before we close the competition for this year. 74,000 stories last year. Apparently we're going to break it, that total in the next few minutes or so. But there is still time to write a song. And in many ways, a story for 500 words. But I was in many ways, that's what songs are. They're short stories, aren't they?
That's obviously what you were thinking as
That's
you
what
said
I
the
was
word
thinking.
song.
I was ahead of myself there.
No, for sure. Yeah, all our songs. I like simple stories about everyday life, and story writing is very much what I like when I'm trying to write songs. Yeah, and the people I like were people like Ray Davies and Ian Dury who could tell a story basically. Yeah, I think it's the Icelanders who say there's only two real things in life: love and telling a good story. How's about that? Just
How did you come across that?
It just came back to me. I don't know where it came from. Yeah, apparently that's true.
Right, we're going to have your top 10 news. Caroline has these. I'm sure there were tens of thousands of them. We've also had tens of thousands of texts saying, just, we love you, Suggs, and this music's off the scale. And you were surprised yourself how fresh those songs sounded then, weren't you?
I'm not
how full they sounded as well.
Yeah, I know. I make my teenage children listen to them every morning, but I went upstairs. No, they do sound good. I mean, that was a bit of a whirlwind of emotion there. You just sort of trawled through every formative moment of my life. All in one go.
I say sorry, I'm completely unapologetic about it, to be honest. I loved every second. So did you, didn't you?
I did.
All right. Caroline, give us the top 10. True or false? True with a ding, false with a honk. Thank you very much indeed.
Mr. Suggs, are you ready? In at number 10, Alison in Derbyshire says, I started a new job in 1979 and had to go to Glasgow for my first day. I had no sleep because in the next bedroom, Suggs of Madness were partying. I banged on the wall, but they carried on.
Absolute nonsense. Nonsense. Glasgow, me, drinking. Ridiculous.
Would never happen. Jenny says at 9, my dad David sold Suggs his wedding ring in Oxford Street back in the early 80s. Hurrah!
Fantastic.
Rob says at 8...
It was a 2-for-1 deal. It was too.
Can I have the other one?
For one.
Rob at 8 says, I used to live in a village called Tugby. One of my neighbours was Keith Brooks, who hired Madness to do the advert for a watch company.
A village called what?
Tugby.
Yeah, go on.
Perhaps.
Yes, we did. No.
One.
Seconda. Sorry, don't say that.
I
don't
deliberately didn't mention it.
No,
at
exactly.
7, while Suggs was filming the video for the single... Shush.
Go on.
While Suggs was filming the video for the single Camden Town back in the 90s, I got him to sign my copy of the A to Z on the Camden Town page, says Ray.
No idea, but I'm going to go...
Sounds right.
Absolutely.
At 6, I saw Suggs in a beach hut in Whitstable. That is all, from James in Canterbury.
I love that beach hut.
At 5...
I love that beach hut.
Hopefully it's still there. Martin in Fetcham. Suggs signed my Dance Craze LP at Epsom Racecourse 2 years ago, but dropped beer all over it and smudged it. Gutted.
How come that's false?
Drinking at the races. Me at the races drinking. Ridiculous.
Shame on you, Martin. At 4, Suggs bought my son Alex a cup of tea at a festival last summer, as when he got to the top of the queue, he didn't have enough money.
Oh, sounds nice.
I tell you what, that is nice. I was at a service station, and this little kid was there crying, and his old grandparents. The queue was miles long, and I bought him a cup of tea.
Service station.
At a service
How many
station.
festivals do you know at a service
festival.
station?
Yeah, well, it was on the way to a festival.
Should we skip to 1 or stay at 3?
No, we're okay.
3. Kate in Leeds. About 5 years ago, I was in a cafe in Highgate when Suggs came in holding a bacon sandwich. He said to the lady, I know it's cheeky, but do you have any ketchup? She said, for you love anything.
Sounds good.
So I walk in a cab with a bacon sandwich.
Yes.
That is brilliant, even if it's not true.
2, I, says Soz, the nutty knitter, I knit the fingerless gloves with the Madness logo on for the band in the early 80s. The band named me their super fan. That's Sue, sorry, not Soz.
Fantastic.
She's sorry now.
She knitted some,
True.
mittens.
And at 1, my wife and I were locked in a bank on a Greek island.
What?
With Suggs, and it ran out of cash. Suggs had a cup of coffee passed to him through a window, says Dennis.
This is good.
Coffee, ketchup. I honestly don't remember anything about that. I'm going to say definitely.
Hooray! That was
Nobody's ever
number
hit that
1.
bell harder. You have 8 out of 10 there. True against false. The 2 false ones involve Suggs drinking. Couldn't possibly be true. Now stick around for a pause for thought. You. Fame by Irene Cara. That kept you off the top slot.
Yeah.
That kept driving my car off the top slot. Okay, let's get them both ready. We'll toss a coin. Let's see which one we play. Let's see if fate has changed her mind over the years. As we welcome on today's Pause for Thought, we have Nick Baines here, the Bishop of Bradford. How are you, Nick?
Hello, I'm all right, and you?
Very well. Suggs,
That's fantastic.
I know you love
wasn't
Suggs,
it?
don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
wonderful.
but I just found out Nick's son is in a ska band.
My son-in-law, yeah.
Son-in-law.
Liam O'Kane in Nottingham, yeah. He's in a band called Jimmy the Squirrel.
Right
And
now?
He does a lot of solo stuff. Yeah, that's what
Okay.
he does for a living.
Is he the theme of your Pause for Thought?
No, he isn't.
Is it
something
serious?
else. Well, it's a bit of a strange experience living in Bradford at the moment, because believe me, it was a grey day when I left yesterday, but whatever the weather this weekend, nothing will dampen the spirits as Bradford City go to Wembley for their first ever cup final. If Liverpool could bang in 5 against Swansea last week, and don't say anything about last night, anything is possible. What an embarrassment. Isn't it great when the underdog threatens the top dog? No shadow of fear, just the sheer madness of enjoying what most people thought was one step beyond possibility. You can take it or leave it, but in the middle of the night, when Bradfordians wake up in a cold sweat thinking of the glory ahead, nothing will take away the joy of celebration. Now, there's a lot of serious stuff going on in the world, I know that. Oscar Pistorius, Syria tearing itself apart. And this country was still finding it hard to wake up to the appalling statistics of child poverty. Forgetting that poverty doesn't just make life a little bit miserable for a child now. It affects the whole of their life, their physical growth, their education, aspiration and life opportunities. It's bad for children, for families, for schools and society. But this runs alongside the excitement of good stuff that goes on. Life is always a mixture of the grim and the great. Our house might be a place of weeping while next door is a house of fun. As the Old Testament Ecclesiastes put it, there's a time for everything. Honest, if not always comfortable. Well, it's a crying shame, but I'll miss the final at Wembley because I'll be driving in my car to Cambridge. But my heart will lift on Saturday night, Sunday morning in anticipation of the joy to come. Wonderful? Absolutely. Or as the song puts it, wee wee CC ya ya da da.
Unbelievable. A bishop.
16.
Testament to your career, to your discography.
Can I have that fiver back?
A madness theme, pause for thought.
I just hope it's not copyrighted.
How did you get that past compliance? Maybe they didn't realise. I bet they didn't realise.
He hasn't yet.
It's worth a try, isn't it?
All right. Listen, we haven't got time for Don't Forget today. We'll have Lynn with some travel in a moment, then Claudia on the way. Heads or tails, Suggs, for you and your band with Madness Driving in My Car, or Fame, Irene Cara, which kept that song from the number one slot?
Well, of all the songs we had, I would have knocked Fame into a cocked hat. Driving in My Car's probably,
the one.
Not the strongest, but...
Oh, not the strongest.
Yeah, but come on, let's...
So where do you want to go, heads or tails?
Heads Driving in My Car.
Would you like the help of God? Do you think heads is the right one, Nick?
They don't usually call me that.
Actually, he's already said it, hasn't he? It's ordained. He's already mentioned driving in his car, hasn't he? He's got that in there.
Heads or tails? He's going for heads. Do you agree?
I agree.
Okay.
Come
This
on.
could
Okay.
be the ultimate test if God exists.
We're going
or
to
not.
bury Fame forever.
Okay. If it's heads, you'll have Madness Driving in My Car. Tails, Fame, Irene Cara, the song that kept Driving in My Car from the number one slot. Here we go. Mr. Tickle's famous 2p, insured for 10p.
Come on. Yes!
It is heads!
Irene Cara, eat your leggings!
There is a God!
Get your leg holes round this
Richard
lot.
Dawkins, get a load of that.